everyone, this is Tony from bluebutterflycreations.blogspot.com with a technique video for you today. Today I'm going to be showing you what is called the 3-tier stamping technique. And to do this project, it's actually going to be a steampunk themed project. This is going to be the final card, and we're going to be using the stamp from Inkadinkadoo, and it's the Steampunk Flourish. But you can use any flourish to do this project. I have this one here from Judykin, which is called Rapunzel's Flourish. So you could use anything you want to do this technique. What you will need is a stamp with a flourish, and here I'm using that Steampunk Flourish. You will need an ink to stamp with. You're going to want a light colored ink if you're going to be doing a 2-step. Here we're just doing a 1-step, so I'm actually using Barn Brown, and this is from Whispers. I'm going to be using some liquid pearls in dark chocolate for accents. I'm going to be using some of the sparkly string. Here is a copper string. I'm going to be using some small foam adhesive dots. I have these 2 gears that I got at Lowe's, and I've spray painted them with Crayon's Caramel Latte metallic paint. I have some ivory cardstock, and I have some metallic brass cardstock. I'm also going to be using some of Tim Holtz Distress Walnut Stain ink to finish up my cardstock pieces. You're also going to want some regular roll-on adhesive, and I'm using Glue Glider in Permatac. To get started, you're going to need your card base, and the card base is cut at 8 inches by 5.5 and folded in half. You're going to need 1 piece of your cream or ivory cut at 5.25 by 3 3/4. You're going to need a piece of that ivory cut at 4.25 by 2 3/4. And a third piece cut at 3.25 by 1 3/4. You will need a piece of that metallic brass paper cut at 4 by 5.5. A second piece cut at 4.5 by 3. And a third piece cut at 3.5 by 2. What I'm going to do is use a little bit of adhesive on the back side of each of these pieces of the second. I'm just going to use my finger to make it not as sticky. If you have repositional tape, that's good. You just want a little piece. You're going to center it in the middle of the largest piece. I'm going to do the same thing with the smallest piece and place it in the center. Just like that. And as you can see, it is tiered. Then you're going to take your stamp and you're going to ink it up. And again, I'm using Barn Brown from Whispers collection. I liked how this one looked like a copper color but was still in that brown family without getting too red. I'm also going to use a sheet of just regular old printer paper underneath my cardstock just in case I get any spillage. And I'm just going to take my stamp and lay it across all 3 and press. I'm going to keep doing that all around the page. And it's okay if the image doesn't come out absolutely perfect, because when we layer in these pieces, it will cover up the imperfections. I'm going to do one more flourish down here, just like that. As you can see, there are my 3 flourishes that I put on this paper across the 3 tiers. Now I'm going to take my tiers apart and start with my largest one. And I'm going to, like I said, use some of Tim Holtz Walnut Stain Distress ink. And my inking tool. And I just have one of these here. And starting with a circular motion from the edge and bringing it in, I'm just going to add some color. There we go. I'm going to do the same with the other 2 pieces. And you don't have to cover the whole thing. You really just want that edge that's going to be sticking out. So I'm going to keep going around here. This adds that aged look. The top piece, you're going to do the whole thing. Just like that. Now I'm going to adhere these 3 layers to the bronze pieces that they coordinate with. Starting with my larger one, which is the 4 by 5.5 with my largest tier. I'm going to adhere that together. Right centered. And place that off to the side. I'm going to take my second layer, do the same thing. And then my last layer. There. Now, I'm going to take my top layer and my middle layer, and before I put any adhesive, I want to make sure that my flourishes line up. So I'm going to spin this until I'm sure. Alright, my flourish goes like that, so I'm going to adhere those 2 together now. It is important that before you adhere them down, you make sure your flourishes all go in the right direction. Otherwise, it's not going to come out right. Next, I'm going to take some of that, this like a 1/8 of an inch foam adhesive, and I'm going to put those dots in all 4 corners, as well as in some of the centers here. And this is going to help for when I wrap my metallic thread, so that it doesn't have that bumpy effect of having the thread wrapped around underneath. Just like that. Alright, I'm going to take my metallic thread and I'm going to get a healthy length of it. And I'm going to start by wrapping it from the back. I want to make sure I have this how I want it. And I'm going to cross, making an X. And I can play with this before I adhere it down. Like that. I'm going to come up this side, come up in the center on the other side, and then I'm going to tie a knot. So it stays in place. And if it's easier for you, you can also loop these threads around the X you created. And I'm actually going to do that, so I know that it stays centered. Okay. There. Then I'm going to thread my larger gear onto one end and my smaller gear on the other side. Then I'm going to make my bow. There we go, and then I'm going to snip my ends. There. Sorry, I want smaller loops. There we go. Then, as you can see, some of my adhesive doesn't have backing. I'm going to line up my flourish on this side and place my second tier onto my third, making sure it's centered. Then I'm going to adhere this to my base. Just like that. Take my dark chocolate liquid pearl straight up and down and put a little daub, a little pearl in each of the four corners on the largest tier. Just like that. And there you have it for this technique tutorial, 3-tier stamping with a flourish in a steampunk fashion. Thank you for joining me, Tony, at bluebutterflycreations.blogspot.com.